Hello, my name is Conrad Zen, former Bitcoin Foundation member, entrepreneur and evangelist for HEX, Pulse and Pulse Chain. We are on the cusp of an enormous revolution in finance, and most of the public don't even know it's happening. And it's up to us to try and educate as many people as possible. And I feel a certain responsibility to keep doing these videos because, you know, when people like BitBoy Crypto with his 1 million subscribers can shill the most crappy investments ever and getting so many people financially wrecked, it's disgusting. And so the more content that we put out, the more people that we're going to help to actually achieve their financial goals. So we've got HEX, Pulse Chain is about to be launched, the new coin there is Pulse, and then we have the new coin PLSX, which is the native token for the new decentralized exchange, which we launched on the same day as Pulse Chain. And that'll be a decentralized exchange just like Uniswap v2, because I believe it's actually a fork of Uniswap v2. So what's the play? Which one of these is going to make you the most money? And I'm going to be very controversial here, and I'm going to tell you that for life-changing wealth, you should be highly invested in HEX. If you aren't invested in HEX already, and if you're coming into HEX today and you put in $1,000 and you lock it up for the average, which is now about 6 years, so you're going to lock your HEX up for about 6 years, you're going to get for your $1,000 around 4,200 HEX for your $1,000. Once you're staking your HEX, what happens is that your HEX gets converted into shares. Now, in our particular example, your $1,000 today is going to buy you half a T-share, 0.5 of a T-share, roughly. What does that mean for the future? This is the most unbelievable part, and this is why HEX is such a mind-bending, without drugs, it's a mind-bending financial product. In 6 years' time, when you come to end that stake, it's likely to be giving you interest. Your share of the pie of the interest will garner you of around 10,000 HEX. Now, if HEX in 6 years rose to $5, and I know we're going to have HEX on 2 chains, I'll talk about that in a minute. But if HEX goes to $5, that means that you've got $50,000 from your $1,000 investment. If HEX goes to $50, that's 500,000. $500, 5 million. $5,000, $50 million. I don't have a crystal ball, as I keep telling everybody. I have balls of steel. I don't have crystal balls, but you could project forward quite confidently, I believe, that HEX could go to $5,000 per HEX, and we've got historical proof that it could be so. Bitcoin, don't forget, I am a former Bitcoin Foundation member. I have tracked Bitcoin from the beginning. So let's look at Bitcoin. It took about 5 years to get to $5,000. And actually at the end of that 5th year, Bitcoin romped up to $20,000. Now, if you were an early Bitcoin adopter, and you got Bitcoin, you could have bought Bitcoin for $1. Some people mined it and got it for free. So we have a historical precedence. You can look at the price of Bitcoin, which when you compare HEX to Bitcoin, they're two totally different animals. But what we're talking here about is adoption. And we've seen that the price of Bitcoin has gone from $1 to today, what is it? It's dropped down to about 44,000, something like that. There's no question. If you're not invested in HEX, you need to be invested in HEX. It is the greatest financial asset, the highest appreciating asset, and it will be going forward. There is no question about it. It's going to beat Pulse hands down. It's going to beat PLSX hands down. There's just no two ways about it. Now look, if you're already fully invested in HEX, then fine, let's go for the gamble of Pulse. Let's go for the gamble of PLSX. However, compared to HEX, Pulse and PLSX are going to give you nowhere near the returns in HEX. Now look, right now, you have the opportunity to buy HEX, and when Pulse Chain launches, you get a copy on the new chain. And there is going to be arbitrage between the two chains. There's no question about that. There has to be, because why would you continue to buy HEX that's more expensive on one chain? You're not going to do that. You're going to buy HEX, which is the cheapest on the cheaper chain. But eventually, you're going to drive the price of HEX up on that other chain, the new chain. And we are going to reach parity between the two coins. HEX, you will not be able to buy HEX. You're not going to be able to buy HEX cheaply. Eventually, it will reach parity, which is why I am so bullish on HEX right now. The other thing about people investing in Bitcoin at the very beginning, very few people became millionaires or multimillionaires. And the reason is that they didn't hold on to it. This is one of the beauties of investing in HEX. It forces you to actually hold. You can't sell. And that is a fantastic property of HEX. There's no two ways about it. Okay, so why would people use Pulse Chain? Well, they're going to find out eventually that it's much faster, it's more secure, and for God's sake, it's absolutely almost free. The transaction fees are going to be so cheap for a very, very long time. If you're a developer and your users are telling you, why are you not on Pulse Chain? They are going to quickly move over to Pulse Chain. That will also bring mass adoption to the Pulse Chain network, which means that the native coin Pulse it's just going to rise meteorically. There's no question about that. Now look, for those of you who sacrificed to get Pulse, you are in the best position. Why? Because you're getting it at zero. If you imagine the adoption that we're going to get, the price is definitely going to rise. But we might find in the short term, the people that sacrificed and got Pulse for zero, you might see immediately a 2x gain. Immediately on the as soon as it opens. And a lot of people might sell at that. But that's the bad play. It's certainly the bad play, because let's look at Ethereum and what happened when that launched. But ETH, when it launched, it had a bit of a rise and then it dipped substantially. However, after 2 years, we saw about a 1800% increase in the price. Now, why can't we see that in Pulse? We will. There's no question about that. You're likely to see between a 20 and 200x within 2 years of the price of Pulse. So I'm quite confident in predicting a 200x. That's after 2 years. And that's important because, we're in a very uncertain world in the, traditional finance scenario. We've got the Fed coming out and realizing that inflation is a huge problem. And again, there's a debate, is that going to continue or not? I think it will. And the reason is, it's got nothing to do with supply chains or demand or anything like that. It's very simple. If you print 20% more money, then the value of that money is decreased by 20%. Therefore, inflation is 20%. You can't stop inflation until you stop printing money. And that's exactly what they said they're going to do. Now, if that happens, that means that the amount of money that's flowing into the stock market will decrease, asset prices decrease, including cryptocurrency, and we will see a bear market in crypto. There's no question. Now, if you are a long-term investor, which in crypto you really need to have that mindset. If you're looking for short-term gains in crypto, then you're gambling. If you have any spare money and you haven't invested in HEX, you need to buy HEX today. Absolutely. Forget about Pulse. Okay, PLSX. Let's go to PLSX. Here's the thing. If you didn't get into Pulse in the first place, or if you wanted to buy more Pulse, there is going to be an opportunity for you to buy Pulse. You'll be able to swap your PLSX tokens for Pulse. You know, people do not understand the power of what Richard Hart has created here. And, you know, it's very interesting to me to try and work out what it is about Richard and the projects that Silicon Valley hates so much, and why there is so much gatekeeping, and why HEX and Pulse Chain and PLSX are not being talked about in the wider crypto world. And I've kind of worked it out. The real reason is that, you know, Silicon Valley is controlled by a very few very, very wealthy individuals. And they simply can't make money from HEX and Pulse and PLSX. So it's in their interest not to even talk about it. They don't want to know about it because they can't make money from it, because they can't buy the company, can't invest into the company. You know, HEX is a finished product when it was launched. Pulse Chain is a finished product when it's launched. PLSX is a finished product. There's no investor money involved. And so the Silicon investors can't make money from these projects. So they have zero interest in talking about them, zero interest in promoting them. And it is in their best interest to try and FUD everybody else out from what is essentially the best projects on the cryptocurrency, in the cryptocurrency space. PLSX, I think we're going to see a 10x very, very quickly. And I see PLSX being a 100x rise, certainly within the first 18 months. There's absolutely no question. The best return, as I keep trying to say to people, is buy HEX now if you haven't fully invested, and stake it. And you have to stake it for more than the average stake to get the highest APY that you can. And you're going to get a duplication on Pulse Chain. And we're going to get parity. Why do people not understand this? This is how people will understand it when they start to see that the price of HEX on the new Pulse Chain just keeps going up and up and up and up and up, and then all of a sudden it's the same price as the original HEX. Oh my God, you just got double your money, and if you are staked, you're going to get double your stakes. And if the price of HEX goes to $5 US, $50 US, 5,000 US dollars, the wealth and the noughts in front of you is truly unbelievable. But I can categorically tell you that people have done that. It's real. It's happened. That's what happened to people who bought into Bitcoin. Now let's face it, the reason that Bitcoin is still around is because of the network effect. They have a huge amount of investors, and of course the institutional investors are now buying Bitcoin, and they're stuck with it. So they're going to have to manipulate the price to make sure they're not losing billions of dollars. So Bitcoin is going to be around for a few years yet, but it's garbage code, it's garbage investment. What does it do? Nothing. It's now in the control of investors like JP Morgan. Oh my God. It doesn't look good for the future of Bitcoin. HEX, on the other hand, completely different animal, and the network effect is extremely important. And, you know, again, we have to understand that HEX is not viral. HEX is way pre-viral. But when you think of it, there's over, I don't know, 20,000 people in the HEX Telegram chat. Why are there not 20,000 people here listening to me giving rah-rah about HEX? If we can't get our own hexagons to actually like and subscribe to all the HEX, you know, YouTubers out there, not just me. I mean, there are lots of people who do far better content than I do. Why have they not all got 50,000 plus subscribers? To me, it's crazy. And, you know, if you're in the HEX Telegram chat and you haven't subscribed to all of the HEX YouTubers, what are you doing? I mean, you don't have to watch what they're saying. If you just subscribe to their channels, it means that the message is going to get out to more people. And what does that mean? It means that more people are likely to invest in HEX and Pulse and PLSX, and that increases the value of all of those three tokens. And if you hold them, you benefit. And what did it cost you? It cost you about 10 seconds of your time to go to these HEX channels and hit subscribe. So I better say it now, but the more that people interact, particularly with YouTube and Twitter, the more the message gets amplified. Look, we don't have a marketing department, you know. HEX will eventually become viral. And of course, the true path to wealth is to get into something before other people know about it, where it is going to be adopted by millions of people. And HEX is that product. And you're very early to the game, still.